Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the January 10th meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll call will begin with Commissioner Culbertson.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Smith.
Here.
Vicki Cos, I'm here. Commissioner Doug Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Stephen.
Here.
We are all present and accounted for. We have no non-agenda public comment.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on to administrative business. Mr. Lothry, do you have anything? Mr. Culbertson, do you have anything?
I don't either.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and let the public know that tomorrow there will be a meeting in Topeka regarding the
LAVTR. Oh,
well,
that's what you meant. Sorry. Yeah. I was like, the noise, that's what you want to talk about.
No, I just want to let people know that
Yep.
there will be probably more than two commissioners that are going to be present during that meeting, because I know that Commissioner Culbertson will be there. I plan to be there with my spouse, and I believe that Commissioner Stephen is planning to be there. So there will be 3 commissioners there. We won't be, but it's an open meeting, and we won't be conducting our business here. But
riding together down there.
and I'm riding with my husband. I don't know how Commissioner Stephen plans to be there, but I'm just letting the public know that we will be there, and there could be even additional commissioners. I do not know.
Yeah. You'd be able to watch it online.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, if not, before I entertain a motion for the consent agenda, I would like to move, E, F, and G into the formal board action. And after that is taken care of, I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
I move that we move E, F, and G into the formal board action.
Okay. Begin voting with Commissioner Culbertson.
Aye.
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 Okay, now, consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Culbertson.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn to,
I move that we adjourn to sign die.
Second.
motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Culbertson.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Now, we need to have a motion to appoint a temporary chairperson.
I make the motion we appoint Jeff Culbertson as temporary chairperson.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Culbertson.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, now we need to,
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, I move, Jeff take over now.
Jeff takes over.
right,
I was just going to switch seats. Is that what you want to say, Vicki?
Switch.
let's switch now. Works for me.
Thank you, Vicki. Madam Chair, you did a great job.
Thank you. I won't miss getting kicked all the time.
Hey, I understand that comment.
Well, you still are in the range.
You can still kick us. Yeah.
That's true.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we convene as the regular Board of County Commissioners.
Second.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Culbertson.
Aye.
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 Aye, aye.
Something wrong?
No, I just got confused.
So,
That doesn't
point
take
of
much.
order, shouldn't Jeff be now
Call the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
Oops, sorry.
It's a habit.
It's a habit.
It's all right.
no problem.
I make a motion that we reconvene.
Second.
Begin voting with Commissioner Culbertson.
Begin voting.
Oh, well, sorry. Yourself.
So our order is going to be a little weird today.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
all right. We'll fix that next week. Voting aye.
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 There, I did it.
Unanimous.
There we go.
Now you hush up.
Mr. Chair, I move that we appoint Commissioner Culberson as a new chairperson.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Motion and a second.
I'm so excited.
Voting beginning with me. Aye.
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 If you give me one moment, I'll change the name.
Okay. Well, he
Thank you, Commissioner Cos, for putting up with this last year.
Absolutely.
And,
really good
appreciate
job.
Mr. Culberson.
It's
willing
been
to step
fun.
up.
Yes.
Really good
Thank you,
job.
Jeff.
Yep.
While he's doing that, I would consider a motion to set the regular meeting days. Is there any discussion on that?
I move that we leave the regular meeting days as Wednesdays.
I wanted to add to that. A lot of people have reached out to me wondering why we don't have meetings in the evenings, and I pointed out to them that we tried that for a year, and nobody showed up.
We have more people show up during the day than we did on the evening meetings.
Yeah, and by more people, there was absolutely no
Nobody
one
here.
showed up for the evening meetings.
And we had to pay staff
Yep,
to be here.
that's right. Overtime and
We tried it, it didn't work.
Yeah, so I agree.
And that was one of my campaign things. I wanted to try the evening meetings. We
Y'all
tried
did.
them, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just wanted to point out to everybody that asked that we did try that, and it did not work. So I'll entertain a motion to leave
Already did.
meeting. Okay, and we have second on that.
Second.
Leaving
Did you second it, Mike?
one to
Okay.
none.
I can.
Go ahead, Mike, second it.
We have a motion and a second. Voting, I'll begin with myself. Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Consider a motion to approve the official newspaper of Leavenworth County. Is there any discussion on that?
I move that we appoint the Leavenworth Times to be the official newspaper.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Voting beginning with me. Aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Leavenworth Times.
Can I make a comment on that?
Sure.
I certainly would like to spread that around, but they're the only newspaper that has wide circulation. Tonganoxie Mirror, I want to compliment them. Today, in their paper today, they have the minutes.
Last week they did too. They were
Of the-
pretty good minutes.
Right, of the minutes of
Is that
the
right?
county commission meetings, and I think that's really getting information out to folks. And
And I get it every week, so
Yeah.
I noticed that just starting last week.
yeah, that's a very good thing. And I would say that they should have an opportunity, but they just don't have the circulation up in the northern part of the county.
But they also do a lot of legal notices for the county
Yeah.
too.
Sounds good. Next item, consider a motion to approve Resolution 2024-5 designating the bank depository for the county. Any discussion on that?
Leavenworth County has used Commerce Bank. In fact, we have a contract with Commerce Bank. And so myself, the county clerk, and the county administrator have had discussion about it, and we do recommend continuing with Commerce Bank.
Is there any reason that we wouldn't bid that out, or is it maybe something I don't know? Is there a reason we wouldn't bid that out or talk to other facilities? Is it because Commerce larger than most, or?
We do a bidding process.
Okay.
But it's, and excuse me, I don't know if it's a 4 or 5 year.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll entertain a motion.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. Still on his phone.
I'll second and third that.
Okay. All right. What was it?
I would
Saved by
make
the
a
bell.
motion to approve Resolution 2024-5 designating the bank depository for Leavenworth County as Commerce Bank.
Motion with a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Voting aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Next, consider a motion to approve Resolution 2024-6 establishing a municipal investment pool and authorizing the individuals listed to take all other actions deemed necessary or appropriate for the investment of funds.
This is a good thing.
This is merely, we do
Yeah.
have a new treasurer, Mr. Gordon, and so this is merely a resolution removing the former treasurer and adding the new treasurer with the designated personnel to be able to sign into that account for the county.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-6, establishing the municipal investment pool and authorizing the individuals listed to take all other actions deemed necessary or appropriate for the investment of funds.
Motion with a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with me. Aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Next is consider a motion to approve Resolution 2024-7, setting elected officials' salaries. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, last week I was going to submit, and this is, I think, the appropriate place, slight modification to our pending salaries, which was to adjust that we will pay mileage if you go to out-of-county meetings rather than no mileage allowance would be provided
In
for
county.
in-county.
Well, we already have mileage. I think that's where we need to clean it up.
That's for
Yeah,
and just establishing a policy. And I think maybe the county administrator said maybe they draft that up and bring it to us.
Yeah, I can certainly draft a policy on, for the Board of County Commissioners on how you would handle both in-county and out-of-county reimbursement for mileage. Did you want to adjust the monthly stipend for phone and car, and just that one stipend include it all, or did you just want to leave those alone and then just make a policy about the in-county, out-of-county?
Well, that's at the discretion of the commissioners.
Commissioners, they used to have a county commission board, used to have a car you drove to the meeting.
Yeah.
It was an old car, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 05.
And the problem with that is you had three commissioners going three different places the same day. So
Well, I don't have a problem with the allowance. I think we need to leave that alone. What I do have an issue with is to make sure when we're using mileage, it's not coming to and from the courthouse. I don't have a problem if you have to go to a meeting somewhere, whether it's whatsoever, because some of the county commissioners have to drive a long way to go to a meeting in the county. But using mileage to come back and forth from work, that to me should not be a part of it. And that's not a bad thing. It just needs to be cleaned up.
yeah.
So and this would establish that the mileage allowance that we currently have is in effect for in-county, and that if you go out of county to a meeting, you submit that.
Then count it. I agree.
Well, okay. I'm saying some people say, Mike, you have to drive up to Easton for a meeting. I don't have a problem with mileage on that. What I don't want to see personally is you going from home to work and back and collecting mileage on that. That's what my concern.
If there's excess in-county mileage that a certain commissioner needs to feel like they need to submit, I think we could put a provision in that they could bring that to the commission.
Well, you want to have it, whatever it is, everyone has to follow.
Well,
So
what I'm
even the
saying is you could submit that if you felt like you
And then if it's not part of our policy, we'd have to turn it down. I don't want to get into that. I want to get to see the policy's pretty clear. That's why I want to see this cleaned up, just so it's clear on what county commissioners and everybody else can do.
Yeah, the easy way to clean it up is to say if it's an out-of-county meeting is.
So
that
what
you're-
about all the in-county traveling, going, looking at SUPs, rezones?
Well, we have a certain amount right now that's
That's a
in.
car allowance, that's not a mileage.
And it's not really that much. I think if
Well,
you're
we
going-
could adjust. I mean, if you desire to adjust it, that's fine.
Well, I know a lot of us go to the county, and I don't claim it, so I'm going to speak openly here. When I'm out of town, I do, but I don't claim any other time. But I think for county commissioners that are going to look at areas, and it's on the other side of the county, or county commissioners that are constantly going to meetings with municipalities and things like that, I think they should be reimbursed that, because that's a working thing. Again, my only issue I had with it, Mike, is driving to and from work. I think that should be covered under the maintenance. Yeah.
Nobody should
That's
be
like
able to
driving
take.
to a job and getting paid for it.
Yeah, I know. We shouldn't. That's what I'm just saying. But I think right now it's wide open, and I think it just needs to be closed.
So if our county administrator drafts the policy and you want to tweak it when he gets it.
Well, I don't want to tweak it. I want to see what the rest of the county commissioner says. I know me and you disagree on it. Let's get the tweak it out of the way right now so we can do it. So county commissioners, Mr. Chair, I'd ask that we tweak it or bring it back to us allowing county commissioners to go to meetings in the county or however, but y'all know what I'm saying, but not to be used as a vehicle to go back and through to work. That's all I'm saying.
Agreed.
That's
You okay
pretty
with
much
that?
the current policy.
Okay, I'm just saying, no, that's what?
Pretty much the current.
No, if you drive back and forth from work, that can add up pretty quick, and I don't want to see that.
Okay, well, I'll just put a motion that we have
I've
the
already got a
county
motion.
administrator.
Well, let's,
Mike just made
I just made a motion.
Oh, what was the motion? I didn't hear it. I thought you were
that we
just
tweak that we tweak the travel policy, and that and I think that's what you just have to state, that you're allowed to use it in county or anywhere, except you cannot use it for
Right.
personal use or coming back and forth to your place of business.
Is there going to be a limit on the total amount?
Well, I don't know. I think we do that at budget time. We haven't been really killing it. If we fix this, Mike, I think we can solve any issues we've had about the total budget. Because not everybody goes. We go to places. I just think, you need to be reimbursed for that. You got wear and tear on your car, which is what the one thing stands for. But going back and forth from work, that can add up pretty quick. And that's where I think we need to settle it down.
Well, I think
we got time to figure this out before budget time.
That's my motion. As confusing as it may be, that's my motion.
your motion is to tweak the policy.
And
With
we got till the budget time to do
with the
that.
comments that I've just made. Yes.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Voting, I'll begin with myself. Aye.
Aye.
No.
aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Next, consider a motion.
If I can say one more thing, too.
Sure.
If we get back in here and our county administrator looks at something and says, hey, we need to take another look at this or something like that, I'm fine with that. I just saw this as one issue that I thought we might want to just clean it up for everybody.
Well, I think tweaking it is, that's kind of a broad.
Yeah, and we got till budget
That's-
time to get it figured
I don't know
out.
what tweaking means.
but
Well,
that's fine.
Well, and we have till budget time to get it tweaked.
Tweaking is, Mike, they didn't second your motion, so let's move on.
Next is consider a motion to approve Resolution 2024-7, setting elected officials' salaries.
During the budget time, the commission did approve a 4% increase for elected officials, and so that is included in the budget. Also in the budget that I submitted, I did put an additional $11,000 to equal a total of $25,000 as an election stipend for this year due to the election process that will take place.
I think we know that's going to be
You think?
probably not enough, but for what they're going to have to do this year. So,
That also was included in the budget and was submitted to you
Okay.
right,
during the
we discussed that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve Resolution 2024-7, setting the elected official salaries.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, I
Discussion?
want to make a comment on that.
Yeah.
When we started the budget process, we first requested that all the departments come in at 4%. When the departments actually came in with the proposal, it was nearly 15%. The commission worked diligently. We did work hard on it, and we were able to get that down to 7.8%. But 4% was our original goal. So because of that, I didn't support that budget, and I'm not going to support this because I think we failed to get it down to that where we should be. And I hope in the next budget process, we set a reasonable, if it's 5%, 4%, whatever we set it, I hope that we can hold it to that number during the next process.
So I'll add to that discussion. Every year when I look at the budget, I try to make sure we're at cost of living, whatever that is that particular year. And this last year wasn't the cost of living like 8%. So
I mean, we were close if you go by that.
Yeah, I thought we did a good job hitting the cost of living. The year before, I think it was 4%. The year before that, it was like 3.5%. And we typically hit The year before it was about 4%.
Yeah,
The year before it was about 3.5%. So,
Chairperson, I agree that doing budgets for Lansing for over 30 years, something like that, I think the staff makes it. Now, there's always places that we can take a hard look on, and I totally agree with you, Mr. Stephen. But I also hope that some of the things that are happening with the legislators this year and the following year are going to ease some of the crisis that we're having here with the property tax and all the exempt things that we don't get to collect on, pass that on to the county citizens.
agree.
I hope you're right.
I hope. That's all we can do. It's the best time it's ever, best opportunity, Doug.
Right.
Any more discussion?
And I agree. You know, we were talking about the money that the sheriff received about going back in the general fund, and you had mentioned about putting it back in the road budget.
Are you talking about this latest amount?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we need to look at that in the near future about where we plug that money in, because we cut road and bridge, we cut buildings and grounds, and I think we ought to start working on the road and bridge budget right now. We need to come up with a number because we always know we're behind on roads. We always know, always have been. We need to figure out how we can fund the road department adequately. And we need to get that number set first, and then we build the budget around that.
And Doug, I agree. We need to, because we know what we're facing with bridges. I also think it's interesting, and I've talked to some other elected officials. I think it's interesting that when we're carrying $300,000 or $400,000, and then all of a sudden it's not needed, and it looks like it's not needed for 2 years, that the budget remains the same the following year. If we've got $300,000 or $400,000 that isn't being used on a common thing, that is something this governing body should be saying, hey, you've lived on this. Why aren't we still carrying that extra $400,000 or $200,000, whatever it is, when we could be bringing that down? I think that's one thing me and you, Mike, we've talked about. And I just think that's something we need to take a hard look at. But Doug, I agree with you on these bridges.
Well, when our buildings and ground director came in, he said we're going to need this much money because we got the Cushing building. And look what happened. We cut it, and look what happened. We had 2 weekends that we had catastrophic failures that were huge.
I remember.
And road department, every year, they tell you what they need to do maintenance, just the maintenance, and we short it.
And that's the problem with the percentage. Like Commissioner Stevens saying he would like it to have been 4%, but what we're not taking into account is
asphalt,
we should be
salt,
and we should be replacing 3 or 4 bridges a year. We're not.
But we as a group discussed it, and we told the departments 4%, and we didn't really. I mean, I think during the next process, I hope we will really hold whatever the percent is. If 4% is too low, if you say 5%, whatever the percent is that we decide as the commissioners, we need to hold it to that percent. And I will point out that, roads and bridges, they did get an increase. So anybody that's watching, they don't think they didn't get an overall cut, but we did reduce their increase by $1.2 million. And there were other large departments that we fully funded. And we need to look at that very carefully, because infrastructure of the county, as far as roads, bridges, culverts, that's our primary function here, in my mind. I mean, we have all kinds of functions, but if the roads and bridges fall apart, I think our citizens are going to be very upset with us.
And they should be, because we're not funding them adequately.
And where we made the adjustments on that budget was in that area.
And Mike, you're right. But also that's an economic tool. If people move here and they can't build houses, or if they move here, commercial property wants to come here, and they don't have good roads, they don't have good bridges, something like that, they're going to go somewhere else. So besides just having them for the citizen, which is number one, it plays into so many other areas that could help the county. That's exactly right, Doug. That's what I'm saying.
Well, and we're getting into the safety factor now, though. It's a problem on our bridges.
I know.
So it's going to be a serious problem here in the next 10 years.
When it comes to that point, we just close them.
That's what we're going to have to start doing.
And I do think we have a work session on this coming up, if I'm not incorrect.
Well, Commissioners, we'll have multiple work sessions in the next couple of months as we lead up to, especially for the budget. But not today.
I'd like the magic number of the road department that they need to adequately fund these roads, and then we build the budget on everything else around it.
But when you say adequately fund, are you
That
talking
means
about
not closing any bridges.
Okay. Good.
But I'm not saying we can do it. I
Yeah.
just want this number so we know what we got.
Good idea.
And then we can decide when we're going to close the bridge.
That is a good idea.
But
Well,
we've
we'll
done
look
it.
at that budget time.
That'll work. We have a motion and a second. Beginning voting with myself. Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. Next, consider motion to approve 2024 Leavenworth County pay plan schedule. We have discussion on that.
It includes the 4%.
Okay.
Nothing additional that was approved during your budget process.
So again, that's 4%, but the cost of living was 8%.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 2024 Leavenworth County pay plan schedule.
Second.
Motion and a second. Beginning voting with myself. Aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Next, consider a motion to appoint members to the Council on Aging Advisory Board as.
Mr. Chairman, a couple items of the organization of the board I wanted to bring up that I mentioned last week. One is in Harvey County they have a policy that they allow invocations at the beginning of the meetings. If moment of silence would continue if there's no one to give the invocation, but area pastors, priests, religious leaders could sign up and could give our invocation at the beginning of the meeting. I would ask that we allow our county administrator to draft the policy based on the Harvey County policy and bring it back to us for consideration.
Okay.
I know other cities that do it too. That's whatever the board feels. I'd like to make sure we're not stepping on any, thing, government first thing. I'm all for it. But I want to make sure that we're not opening a door for anything either on that.
That would be one of the concerns that I might have, and because I do approve of having the invocation. However, I would have concerns that we might meet with because of a lot of people like to flex their beliefs or whatever, that we might have someone who wants to come that might not meet with the, excuse me.
Commissioners, I did review the Harvey County policy. Commissioner Stephen talked to me about that last week. And what it does is basically it allows people to sign up to give the invocation, and you don't get to discriminate on who is eligible to do that.
Right. That's
So the other way that you can handle it is also to have one of the commissioners lead the prayer if they'd like, and then it's simply at the commission level. But whatever the commission wants, it's a policy of the board, and I can certainly draft whatever you feel is appropriate.
Okay. Or could we change our moment of silence to a moment of silent prayer?
Well, that's a step. I'm okay with that. If you want to take that step.
That's the next step, Mike.
because
And
I think
then we down the road can look at that.
I have
Anyone
no
that
problem
wants,
with
they
that.
can choose what prayer
Yeah, no.
or what denomination that they would
Yeah,
want
I
to
agree.
when they're doing their silent, we call it meditation or prayer.
So is that your motion?
Yeah, I move that we, can we make this motion and it's on the agenda or do it this
Yeah,
time?
you
All
can.
right. I move that we change our moment of silence to a moment of silent prayer.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Excuse me.
Begin voting with myself. Aye.
Aye.
Absolutely.
Motion carries 5-0.
And if I pray out loud, I apologize.
Amen, brother.
And then one more thing, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And I'm hopeful that, every year I have a lot of citizens that live in Linwood and drive 40 minutes to get up here to a commission meeting. And I would just request that we move all of the public comment. And it hasn't been an issue this year because there hasn't hardly been, we have very few times where we've had a lot of public comment. I just would like to move the public comment all of it to the beginning of the meeting, so when they drive here, they can get that taken care of. They don't have to sit through the entire meeting and wait to the end to make their public comment.
Which I don't really care either way, and I don't have a problem with it. But I do see from past meetings there could be a problem maybe with that when we have a big item where 100 people show up. Then you have staff that we're paying sitting there waiting for 4 hours before.
But I
they
have
can speak.
my folks that are driving up here are also have jobs and have obligations.
I agree.
You know,
That's why I'm saying I see it both ways, but
I
it's
understand
kind of a double-headed sword.
what we're saying. I understand what you're saying, and I think I've always been, but I just think that, and I would love for people to not leave before hearing all the business of the county, because I think it's really important for people to participate by sitting here and coming and listening. My question is, can we not change our platform to some extent? And I don't know how that would be done. You know, right now when we have our meetings, they're not like Zoomed, so that if someone wanted to participate via Zoom, that they could, from where they are, remotely participate, but they could wait at home.
All gone.
And then, and at the end, you know, they can have it to where they know where they are and they can tend to other things, but know that this is when it's coming, so that then they can just comment via Zoom at the end of the meeting. Which I'm just saying, I just think that we need to conduct the business of the county, because that's the sole purpose of convening, is to conduct the business of the county. And so at the beginning of the meeting, when we have public comment regarding agenda items, that is part of the business that we have agreed upon to conduct business about. And I think that when we allow for the end of the meeting, then that gives us an opportunity to listen, to perhaps consider bringing something that someone has brought to us after we've conducted our business meeting. And somebody brings something to our attention or says something, it gives us an opportunity to contemplate that, perhaps direct staff after we have listened and that person has stepped away, to bring this forward on an agenda item. But I just think that it's that keeping them separate, to me, has worked very well over the past year. I just think that it has worked for us.
Mike, is that a motion?
yeah, I'll just put that out there as a motion to move the public comment to the beginning.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? Motion and a second. Begin voting with me. I vote aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-2. So we'll change the location of the public comment to the beginning of the meeting. Next is consider motion to.
Are we limited in the time on that?
Yeah, we'll
still
have to do
3 to
that.
5, isn't it?
We'll have to stay on time.
3 minutes because it's
Three.
the beginning.
3 minutes.
But when what we have now on the agenda items is
5.
first 15 minutes. It goes up first 15 minutes. Now what are we going to do?
That's true. If it goes over 15 minutes, then nobody gets to talk.
Well, could we just make it that it's at the discretion of the chair? It will be set for 15 minutes at the discretion of the chair.
So you can play it by ear if it's a big
If there's a
meeting.
large turnout, you could.
So we'll put that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it many times. I mean, we had my first year as a chair. I think everybody came in here and wanted to fight with us. But lately, in the last year or so, last year and a half, there hasn't been that much. And I think the chair, if that's what you folks would want to do, but I think the 3 minutes, and then you start that process, and you can have some rules or something in there for the chair to be able to say, okay, we have to go an extra 5 or 10 or something.
And I don't think we have to actually make it a motion or a rule, do we, Mr. Van Paris? We could already do that the way it is now. The chair could say, hey, we've got a lot of people here today, so we're going to allow more time for public comment.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, you are given great latitude as to the conduct of your meetings other than when there are specified public hearings required. So you certainly have the ability to, as needed, limit the amount of public comment as you deem fit in order to conduct your business.
Or allow more time.
Or allow more time.
In attorney's way, that's yes, Jeff.
Okay.
attorney language.
Yeah.
You can't just say yes or no.
First 15 minutes.
I think that was a yes, so we don't need a motion to put that
Right.
into the rules.
So, I mean,
We can
Is it
normally,
advertise.
I mean, in the last year, I don't even know if maybe a handful of times. I don't even know if we've
So it
had.
didn't need to be changed, then, is what you're saying?
Well, it did as far. Okay, let's not.
Next,
You about lured me in, Doug.
next, consider motion to appointment members to the Council on Aging Advisory as presented. Connie, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Connie.
Good morning. Commissioners, there were 5 open seats on the Council on Aging Advisory Board this year. We opened that up to the public. We had 5 people fill out applications. Those were presented for your review. So I'm asking that we approve the following candidates for appointment to that board: Donna Kendall, Sharon Marsh, Charles Owen, Donna Ramsey, and Mateo Rosales.
Any more discussion on the item?
Now, I'll make a motion to appoint Donna Kendall, Sharon Marsh, Charles Owen, Donna Ramsey, and Mateo Rosales, I hope I'm not pronouncing it wrong, to appointment members to the Council of Aging Advisory Board.
Second?
Motion and a second. Beginning voting with myself. Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Connie.
See you later.
Thank you, Glenn, and thank the folks for willing to step up and
Absolutely.
volunteer.
Good job. Consider motion to approve the Tonganoxie Road water main relocation agreement that we discussed last week.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, last Wednesday you directed staff to forward to legal counsel for Rural Water District Number 9 a request for modification of their proposed agreement. That was sent to them at 4:46 that day. This morning at 9:06, we did receive a response from legal counsel for Rural Water District Number 9, and I'll sum it up by saying they are looking into it. They're attempting to obtain additional information from their contractor as to the amount that was stated as the estimated cost and the anticipated completion time. That information to follow. It would be my recommendation and request that we table this matter until next Wednesday's meeting in the hope that we would receive that information in the meantime.
Timetable still good for us?
I defer to Public Works on that. We're trying to move this as quickly as possible.
Bill?
Put it back on next week's agenda if we
Mr.
table it for 1
Which
week.
one's with Bill?
Mr. Knowles here, let's see what his suggestion might be.
It's the completion date that is necessary. We do need to send this form to KDOT as a water line agreement demonstrating that we have contracted this work to be completed with the water district. At this point in the delays of this project, I don't know that 1 more week is going to be the breakover point of where we're at on whether or not this project gets completed. We are currently sitting months behind, so right now we're not facing a deadline, but we do need to turn that over to KDOT immediately, and it's the completion date that is fast approaching.
Question, just for clarification, because I've had a couple phone calls on this. You've already submitted that agreement on the County Road 30 portion to KDOT, correct?
That's a completely different grant program, and so
Okay.
it's a locally administered project, and we are under a completely different set of guidelines. This is a KDOT-led project on Tonganoxie Road. It is federal funds, and so we are under a completely different set of criteria. So we don't actually submit a 1302 form, which is what the form is that we have to submit to KDOT on the utilities of an HRRR project. So to answer that question shortly, no, we haven't, because we aren't required to.
Okay, so, but as far, I guess I didn't ask the question correctly. Everything that needs to be done on the County Road 30 project, we're all up to speed and we have the agreement in place.
The agreement is in place with the water district. That project, we are currently awaiting the federal budget. We will have to make a determination in the coming weeks of whether or not to request a formal extension of that Kansas cost share program in order to try to wait for the federal government to decide whether or not they're going to pass a federal budget. I don't know the nuances of the federal budget, obviously, but There are some drop dead dates that as I've read on the internet, of January 19th and February 5th or something, where different phases of that budget could be approved. And I don't know exactly where the transportation portion, that any funding for the project is located.
So we're waiting on the feds.
Yes, and then after that budget, we still have to wait on the Federal Highway Administration in order to have an agreement for reimbursement. And so I don't know how long that process would take, but we are quickly coming to the end of that funding source. KDOT has verbally agreed that they would allow us to have an extension in order to try to obtain those additional funds, but we do not have that in writing, and it is not guaranteed at this point.
So you say they have verbally agreed, but nothing in writing yet?
They stated that it seemed reasonable,
Okay.
but that is not a confirmation, and that is not an extension of our agreement. So
Gotcha.
the agreement states that that
Needs to be in writing.
it needs to be in the contract, and the contract would need to be revised. Currently, we have until a date mid-February to bid the project or lose the funding for that project.
I think we just,
Prior to that, we have to either have an extended contract or determine whether or not we want to see if the federal government funding comes through.
Very good.
$2 million on the line here?
$2 million.
$2 million on the line. Jeez.
but we got a week, so I'd make a motion to table the Tonganoxie Road Water Main relocation agreement until next Wednesday, next Commissioners meeting.
Motion to have second?
Second.
Motion and second. Begin voting on myself. Aye.
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 No.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
We need to talk about future projects and utilities. We can't keep doing this.
Nope.
So keep that in the back of your mind.
I agree.
Agreed. Presentation and discussion items. We're going to do that before quarterly reports. Let's wait and do that after. Let's do quarterly reports now. First, we have up solid waste. Morning, Tammy.
Morning, Tammy.
First Wednesday of January. Just have a lot on the agenda. This is the solid waste quarterly report. So it's the year of 23 ending numbers. Customers were up by 4,523. We processed 2,724 more ton last year over 22. Tire drop-off is all over the place. In 21, we processed 78 tons, 22, 94 tons, so 23 we're like in the middle at 85. We've seen an increase in free brush by 1 ton every year for the last 3 years. We've seen an increase in the annual cleanup residents by 124, disposing of 50 more tons, and an increase in HHW appointments by 113.
Y'all are busy.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say the same thing.
That we are.
With the landfill being closed or the C&D closed out at Easton, are you seeing an increase?
Yes,
I mean, quite a bit,
yes.
but you're able to handle it.
We are
Or,
so far,
you know,
yeah.
lines aren't too bad.
No.
But then
Just,
you got two scales.
Yeah.
So when there's a bunch of C&D brought in one after the other, the lines are a little longer because we have to compact that.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes a little longer, and it fills up trailers, a lot faster. But yeah,
And I hear a lot of positive things about that. I think a skill is a big thing that y'all put in there too, but I hear a lot of positive things about you and your staff, so just wanted to pass that on to you.
thank you.
I couldn't believe they built a transfer station without an in and out scale. It didn't make any sense.
Wasn't me.
I know, wasn't me either. I mean, that is a crazy.
Nobody in this room.
Money. It was
I
money.
understand,
It was
but
about
you know,
money.
inefficient that is?
Exactly. That's my point exactly. You don't want to be a nickel holding up a dollar.
That's what it was.
Yeah, you got to save money up front. Look what it costs you in the end.
Yeah, we could have put that scale in for back in '96.
Exactly.
Well, and, like 10 years ago, a busy day for us was like 80, and
Yeah.
we'd think we had our butts kicked. But now it's, 230 a day.
Yeah. It was needed, though. It was needed.
Very good.
Other than that, that's bad. The bag recycling with the Lions Club is going well. We've collected 574 pounds of that since May, so next we'll have to work on styrofoam.
And this is a time I always like to bring up to folks, everybody in the county gets one free dump day,
They know that.
including in the cities. I have that question a lot.
Yeah.
So we used to do it, we had like 2 weeks, everybody could go free.
Cleanup day.
Yeah, and that
Well, when I first started, it was a weekend. It was
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, and that was a terrible idea because it
anytime.
inundates you
Everybody
guys.
came at the same time.
And then people were not going because the line was a mile long.
Right.
So we changed that to where we keep track of everybody and just
Right.
check them off a list. So you can go anytime you want, one free day a year.
And Wendy does a really good job of giving me the list every year. Like this year, I was like late asking her because, I had a scale operator leave and trying to train, and it just, one of those things that just slipped my mind. It's like, oh no. But she got it to me right that day, so
Good job.
a lot of good county folks.
Yep.
ADHE's happy, so we should be happy.
That too. Yep. Mostly good things we hear.
Yes.
Anything else?
Thank you,
All
Pam.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
Pam.
great week.
Thanks,
You
Tim.
too. Thank you.
Yes.
Next on quarterly reports, we have planning and zoning. Morning, John.
John?
Morning, John.
Chairman, Commissioners, this is the final quarter of 2023. I'm sure you've read through the report that was included in your agenda. We've had a substantial, at least in my view, a substantial increase in single-family home permitting, around 12.5% to 15% increase, about a 20 to 25% increase in accessory structures. And
Excuse me. Can you speak up a little bit, please? Thank you.
Put it close, John.
Here we go. Better?
Yeah.
Okay. Just repeating, we've had a substantial increase in single-family home permitting, about 12.5% to 15% increase over last year. At the same time, we've had about a 20 to 25% increase in accessory structures from last year to this time. And we've had about a 31 to 35% increase in platting, which means there is a substantial amount of buildable lots that have been platted in the last year, and we expect that will continue through the first quarter of this year. Departmental updates, we are finally fully staffed. It's been about a year since we were fully staffed, and we are now. Hopefully that will improve service. Applications, we continue to make some changes with applications, namely construction valuations within the permitting app itself that allows you to track the amount of construction dollars that are moving through the department on a monthly and an annual basis. Affidavits of code compliancy for commercial projects, obviously, that was brought to you earlier in the year, but that's been implemented and will be codified later this year. Joint review committees, this is a committee between departments that review prospective development plans. Through that process, we tend to find things or open holes in the policy. A number of those have been addressed and, again, will be codified this year. Development submittals, a little bit of change on how we address those. We will not accept applications that are not complete. If you don't have a complete submittal, it will not be accepted and move forward. Regulatory updates, again, that's our annual policy update that we anticipate doing in the first quarter of every upcoming year. Staff has begun to draft those text amendments, and you will see those in the following months. Comprehensive plan, obviously I've been talking about that for several quarters. We We've shipped that out to department heads and key stakeholders to get their initial review. We're going to have a primary focus on the implementation strategy, and I will develop, or our staff will develop, action matrices to coincide with that implementation strategy to identify weak areas of that strategy and to address those as part of the plan. Code Appeals Board, again, pushing forward to the 2012 IRC IBC implementation and adoption. The first meeting of that will be January 24th. With that, I would entertain any questions that you have.
Any questions from the board?
Looks like okay.
Yes, sir.
On the comprehensive plan, what's the schedule for the Planning Commission to begin reviewing that, or what's kind of give me the timetable on when that comes to us?
The schedule will actually be put together by the Planning Commission and staff, but we have to have the key stakeholders and the department heads that are responsible for some of these elements in the implementation strategy respond to us first. Once they do that, then we'll put that schedule together.
Okay, so you don't have a schedule?
I don't, but typically it's going to be around 3 months or so. So, the March-April timeframe is what I anticipate, but I can't commit to that without that information first.
Okay, thank you.
So it looks like a lot of areas the county is growing when people compare us to single-family homes. I mean, I look at the report we get every time in Kansas City and things like that, and the subdivision plats. So opportunities out there that we can just get the property tax down so people can afford them.
Well, a couple of things you might want to take a look at is the decrease in SUPs.
Yeah.
The decrease in variances, the requests and the issuances of those, and the increase in rezonings. Well, after rezonings comes platting. After platting, that's available buildable lots. So those are good market indicators. I can't guarantee what the market will do, but these are all very positive signs.
I noticed that our special use permit number has continued to fall.
Right.
And that, I think, is a sort of, we don't really have a policy on that, but we've been trying to, as a board,
Well,
that.
I think we addressed that through the use tables and the expansion of HOLs, and we're working towards that. And we coach people up through the staff process, and a lot of times we can eliminate the SUP, as a product of what you guys have already passed in the last 12 months.
I would just want to give you a compliment, because I have heard a lot of compliments about your department as far as the professionalism, holding to the policies and maintaining what the policies are and following those. I think that gives us continuity and consistency for everybody in the county to be treated the same.
It reminds me of when I was a police officer, the planning commission. Thing is, people didn't like tickets, and people don't like to be told no. But if you get to where the point they're following the rules, it becomes a norm. It becomes less grievance for the people coming through the door. So I agree with you, Mike, what you're saying.
And we've had a few cases where we've had to make some adjustments, but that's our job.
Tweak.
There's that word.
What does that mean?
Southern Belle, you should know what that means.
And the one thing I wanted to add was I like the fact that we're doing annual reviews now on the comprehensive plan. That wasn't done before.
We were supposed to be doing it all along.
But
Exactly.
it has been.
Yeah.
But before this
consistently.
board, they didn't do that. In fact, I don't have the dates because I know we're going to talk about this, but we only had one comprehensive plan done in
2008.
Commissioners, you did take a 20-year hiatus.
Yes.
Process, but you're,
Thank you, Counselor.
you're on track to conduct annual reviews as stated in statute.
You remember that's what I ran on, too.
I didn't know that. but
Comprehensive. I'll give you one of my own push cards.
Is that right, Doug? Okay.
Check that one off.
Everything I said I was going to do, I did.
Check that one off.
Including the night meetings. That didn't work.
Which it may different.
I'll
You
bet
kept
how
your
it
word.
A comprehensive plan, and to review it every year, and we should have been reviewing, the former commission should have been reviewing it every year.
Because then it catches up with you. When it catches up with you, it's not a good thing. We've had that out in
It catch
Lansing.
up with us, it became obsolete, we had to do a new one.
Well, that's what I think how you define that as catching up.
$285,000 new one.
I know, they're not cheap.
And we-
John led the charge in Lansing when we hadn't done one about, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, generally comprehensive plans are good on the outside for 10 years, 5 years normally, 10 years on the outside, but 20 is.
That's pushing it a little.
And by reviewing it every year, that's a good point. We save that $300,000
Absolutely.
doing it all at once
Yep.
again in 20 years.
You know,
And we didn't save
comprehensive plans
anything.
are intended to be living
Ultimately, we
documents,
save
so.
nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. Is that all you had, John?
That's all I have.
I like
Well,
deferred
thank you.
maintenance. Anytime you defer something, it's not going to save you money.
Thank you, John.
Payday someday, isn't it?
Yes.
Pay me now or pay me later.
That's
the increase.
all of our quarterly reports. We can go to presentations and discussion items now. I'll go first. I attended a pipeline safety meeting yesterday.
We have anybody else?
My main goal of that was to reiterate to
Two public
the,
comments.
Okay.
I forget something.
2 public comments, but
Oh,
whatever you want to do.
that's right.
That's
Yep.
what it is.
Um,
It's all right, you're new.
That's all right. We'll go to that. We have 2 people signed up for a public comment. Louis Klemp, come on up. State your name and address, please, to the microphone. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Mr. Flint?
I could say Ohio Zamis and Yankee and Ottawa, but most people don't know these. I'm going to move this temporarily here and hand these out to you because I know you're interested.
We're always interested.
Excuse me, son. Always go to the lady first, Grandma said.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is that what Grandma said?
Thank you, sir.
Four families.
Thanks, sir.
Grandma knew how to cook too, huh?
Couldn't believe it.
I like your title, States with No Property Tax.
Well, I thought it was interesting. Originally, when I came, it was for only one statement, but since you put us at the end of the meeting, which I think put us at the front of the meeting, is very wise. And it was about commissioners wanted reimbursement to go to commissioner. Wanted the reimbursement of, $467,000. Sheriff said he wanted 80. The rest go to public works. Doesn't anybody ever think of the taxpayer? Oh, we're going to give the money to some other department. That's not good, in my opinion. Now, that was the only reason I came. And now, I want to thank Jeff. You're the first person I've ever heard. All in favor of Jeff being the chairperson, say aye. Jeff, aye. Oh my God, he said aye. Louis Klemp, 1816 Pine Ridge Drive. Used to be 778 Cherokee. My bathroom was 3 Mile Creek. It's changed. But I want to thank Jeff. Now, it's interesting. On banks, 1980, I think it was, I got elected in 78. We were going with, we didn't have millions. We had thousands. Well, there'd be 100,000 in this bank, 100,000 in this bank, 100,000 in this bank, and they were paying us 3%, 2.5%, who knows. I said, why don't we go out for bids? Well, the bids came in at 18 and 19%. I don't know if that was a smart thing to do or not, but the 2 other commissioners, good guys, very mature, they said, well, I got to check with my banker. So I knew there was some kind of fault there, and all the bankers were my bankers, so I didn't have to check with anybody. Kelly, she has $4 billion sitting in her 2 bank accounts. $4 billion. You guys need to go after your elected officials and say, we're going to monitor how you vote. We don't want to hear any of this discussion. Well, this is going to be high on the debate. No, not high on the debate. You're going to vote for us getting that $4 million on our property tax. Biggest business that has not been developed is history of Leavenworth County. That's one of the biggest businesses. It just sits there. City of Leavenworth, they can't even find this. This is the history of Leavenworth. They can't find it. Well, isn't that amazing? This is my copy that I get from a historian. There's a lot of history in Leavenworth. You know, you talk about mileage. I don't remember in my 8.5 years of getting any mileage. Never. With the money you get, you don't need any mileage. That's from a taxpayer. And go after the legislators for the sales tax. You need to close some bridges. Up north of me where I lived, there was one bridge where one farmer passed over. We spent, I don't know, $200,000 to replace the bridge. And then the debate came, well, put the sign up there that says, I won't mention their names, and Louis Clamp. I said, no, I haven't been up there to see. I said, do not put Louis Clamp on the bridge. Okay, thank you very much. Brought up about the big man, saying a little prayer. I'll tell you, since I have gone into what I do, I pray more than I ever did before. And there's a reason for it. I'm not woke. We got a bunch of problems coming up. We got 24 Chinese that came up across the border. They're not up here to study anything. So I pray to the big man. That's not Joe Biden. That is God. That is the big man. If anybody doesn't know that, I don't know, he's supposed to be a forgiving person. We need to be at the start of the meeting, or I wouldn't have had all that junk. To you, it's junk. To me, it isn't. It's very important. I didn't know we had one free dump day, any day. Now, I'm going to check on my manager, and I'll have to fire her. But she didn't tell me that. No, I won't fire my manager. She's good. So, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. You can listen to anything I said. Hopefully, the money goes towards the taxpayer. And if you don't care about the taxpayer, if you don't put that money there, that's what they're going to know. You don't care about the taxpayer. Taxpayer is an important person. Extremely important.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Part of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louis.
If I'd talked a little longer just to hear the buzzer, then I felt happy.
I stopped it just for
I don't
you
think
so
we
it
used
wouldn't
it.
go off because you were wrapping up.
Oh,
I know how much you like it.
don't know how to
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I'd
Mr.
like
Clamp.
to stay, but I have a luncheon with a historian to talk about the history of love.
Thank you, Mr. Clamp. Also on public comment, we have James Patrick signed up. Oh, sorry, Petrick. Yes, sir, good morning. You state your name and address for the record, please, since I think I messed it up.
Hello, does it work now?
Sorry.
My name is James Petrick. I reside at 2849 Broadway Terrace here in Leavenworth. I'm both a resident, taxpayer, registered voter in the Leavenworth County. I also belong to various veteran service organizations. I'm retired Army, 27 years, grand total of all my service to to our country.
Thank you for your service.
A lot of times, a lot of people expect you're welcome, but my response is the pleasure and honor is mine to have been of service. And with some of our veteran organizations, we also I assist in funerals for our heroes and stuff. Kind of frustrated because there seems to be some finger pointing over this House Bill 2036. It was a tax exemption for disabled veterans, and I watched the YouTube video, and Ms. Katz came up with a really good question about why just be exclusive only to disabled veterans. Walgreens Picture Perfect World, I'd like to open it up for all, and it should be for anybody who happens to be disabled, whether it be a first responding hero, the only profession other than the military where somebody basically starts the first part of their shift with a blank check to give the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty is our law enforcement. Would like to also state that some other things have been said about other states pay their veterans to live there. Alaska being the first one that's dropped, it's because of the permanent dividend fund. That basically was set up back in the 70s when they built the Alaska pipeline, and the dividend is the interest off of the initial principal that was deposited. So the only good thing about that is if the husband is only the Alaska resident, well, that's one check. If husband and wife, that's two. And if they have 3 kids, do the math, and that's five dividend checks. A lot of the veterans are on fixed income. Some of the veterans that are 100% disabled are unemployable, and they have to be at a fixed income rate. Comment was made that a lot of the veterans are living in a $1 million house. Trust me, the house that I live in, the only way that thing could be worth $1 million is what the assessor happened to assess it when they come out to assess the property tax. A lot of comment is made about it's going to hurt the revenue. Well, we can probably come up with a median or a cap on the value of the property and do a percentage. Hate to compare and say, well, back when I lived up in Alaska, the house I bought, I paid approximately $225,000. Fairbanks North Star Borough at that time, they waived $175,000 because I was retired, honorably retired military, and then the remaining I paid my property tax on the remaining $50,000. After filling out forms upon my separation from service, I was sent down to the VA for a physical evaluation, sent out to a third-party person. They sent the results back to the VA and was declared at 90%. So out of that $50,000, I was given relief of 90% of that balance, but I did pay taxes. That could be something that food for thought, working with legislatures, that everybody can collaborate and get into a negotiating for a win-win situation. Currently, my job, I work at the VA, where I'm a master procurement and acquisitions manager, and I know very well what the process of the solicitation, receiving of proposals, negotiations, and I think that we can collaborate with our lawmakers and everything. As a gentleman previously stated, I get an email from Governor Kelly, and right now they're sitting on $14 billion or $14 million, and the majority of that revenue that came in, and they had a spreadsheet that it was personal property tax paid more money per capita, and it was the sales tax. But it's us, the individual residents, that pay, that contributed to that surplus that they have. Governor Kelly states that she wants to give it back to the taxpayer through a responsible program. I think we can work this program being a kind of a youth veteran. I mean, we're used to being the guinea pigs for our country, and if we can get this program going and we can fine tune it, then we can also broaden the spectrum so we can get our heroes and also get, well, basically everybody, and that way we can hopefully take care of everyone else.
Good point.
Does anybody happen to have any questions about this?
Unfortunately, we don't take questions or answers during public
Okay.
comments. It's just a statement type of situation. So thank
Okay.
you for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you
Thank
coming
you for
in,
coming in.
especially with the weather like it is.
Yeah, sorry you missed us last week,
Oh, yeah, well,
but thank you for coming
to
in.
be honest with you, I don't know where it's, advertised and everything, and it just comes through I get an email and, oh yeah, today this is going on. I'm like,
No, it's good.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Thanks.
That's all public comment I have signed up. Don't see anybody else, so we'll go on to presentations. I went to a pipeline safety meeting yesterday. As I said before, the main question I had was about, for them, if it's required for high-pressure gas lines to be buried when they're installed, why is it not required for them to be reburied when they erode and become exposed? And it was crickets.
Oh, no answer?
Yeah, no answer. So I did point out to him the county resolution we passed that says in Leavenworth County, if high-pressure gas line becomes exposed, it needs to be reburied.
Yep.
None of them were aware of that resolution, so I think we probably started something. I'm hoping that we started a spark that might get to the bottom of this after all.
Good.
Other thing I wanted to say was I'm headed to Topeka tomorrow to testify for the LAVTR, bringing with me also letters from, I think I got letters from every city in the county now. Basser originally said they didn't want it, but now we have a letter of support from the city of Basser also. Leavenworth City is working on theirs today. Chamber of Commerce is also working on their letter too. So I think we have every city in the county supporting returning the LAVTR to the taxpayers. There's been some misinformation about the amounts that it would make a difference. I think we calculated it would make around 8 to 10% off of everybody's taxes if they were to return the LAVTR. So it's a substantial amount. It's not just pennies, like some people have been saying. That's true relief right now.
It still belongs to you.
That's the main point.
It's collected here, it belongs
It's
here.
already the law. And it seems to me to be a pretty simple way to give people immediate relief instantly. So that's what I hope to reiterate to the folks in Topeka tomorrow. That's all I have.
I'm sure you will.
Anybody else sign up for the legislative action day on the 24th? Did anybody get
I
that?
think I did. Did we have to register online for that?
I hadn't signed up yet on that.
Becky registered me.
Okay.
Is that the one in
Maybe
Topeka?
she registered everybody. I don't know. It's on a Wednesday and it starts at 11, so we'd be late. But it's
Is that Topeka?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's and this year it's at the Country Club, Topeka Country Club.
Changed it.
Well, I'm going on
Whoop-de-doo.
vacation, so I won't be here.
You're out of here.
I'm going to attend. So that's okay.
Commissioner Stevens?
I'm going to also be going and testifying tomorrow, and tomorrow evening speaking at the Linwood Library at 6:30. And I just want to make one comment. It's sort of about we've gotten several phone calls on the veterans deal relief, and I just want to say when somebody puts out on social media that commissioners do not support veterans,
That's not true.
I think that's a very broad statement. That's painting with a very broad brush. And I think it's not. I think we would argue, each of us, that we do support veterans. We have veterans in our families. I think we're very pro-military, and we support this community, and we always have. But I think I talked to one gentleman yesterday about this, and I said, are we not allowed to have a difference of opinion on how this benefit should be financed? If we don't agree on how you think it should be financed, does that mean we don't support veterans? And the answer is no. We do support veterans. We just have a difference of opinion on how we're going to finance it.
Thank you.
You just heard Mr. Klemp say the state has $4 billion surplus. I can tell you after going through the budget process locally, and we all know it was a knockdown, drag out. We don't have extra funds here. And that goes for your infrastructure and for everything that the county does. So all we're saying, and I'm not speaking for anyone but me, but we want it funded through the Homestead Act that comes from the general fund of the state of Kansas, not taking local ad valorem property tax revenues that would go to roads, bridges, and infrastructure And I think that's the bottom line. I realize that the current bill has been changed so that they have some kind of he has a formula to make sure the money comes back. But I think our concern about that is we've looked at LAVTR, we've been studying that, and the money doesn't always come back. And so I just think putting out there on social, and also and one last thing is, when you're trying to work with other folks in the community on an issue, it's not productive to attack another group by saying they're not supportive of the underlying issue, which is veterans. We do support veterans, and it doesn't help to negotiate this when we're pointing fingers like this. And I just felt like I needed to say something because I do support veterans.
I think we all do on this board. But the biggest concern that you're talking about, that the state may not refund the money at some point, the business machinery tax. When they took that away, they were going to give 10 years. They were going to pay the counties 10 years for make up the loss, give you time to transition into not having it, and they paid it for 6 months.
I remember.
And that was huge.
I remember.
There were 4 of us actually, that were part of that. And Homestead Act, absolutely. Increase the homestead valuations and income. The Homestead Act has not been keeping up with inflation or appraisals. It can be, as Commissioner Smith's words, tweaked. So.
And I know there was one of the comments on social media was, well, it can't be funded through Homestead because Homestead has this cap, this cap, this cap. Well, the legislator's job in Topeka
Is to fix that.
Is to change that. So that can be changed, and I just would encourage all of the legislators to look at it where the extra money is sitting right now, and that's in Topeka.
Right. And there's also the concern that they can pass a law that says they don't have to follow the law. So that's another concern.
Yeah. Mike very well said. I couldn't have said any better because that's exactly what we feel.
And to add to what you're talking about, to back up what we are talking about, history points out the fact that this is 12 pages of state unfunded mandates and programs and exemptions that the state exempted that was just a tax shift that they stopped paying. Most of these they said they would pay for. They paid for in the first year, then they just stopped paying it. So what that does is it raises the taxes on everybody else in the county that's not in that particular exempted group. 12 pages where the state started paying and then they just stopped paying. And then it shifts to the adjacent county taxpayer. That's not all of them.
Oh.
It's not all of them. I found out this isn't even all of them.
Right.
So from history, we have learned the state says they'll pay for something. They might do it for 6 months. Then they just stop paying. So what does that do? That makes the county commission raise the taxes on the other group that's not exempt.
But Jeff, the other thing too is once they stop paying, people say, well, it's in the law, they have to.
Exactly. LAVTR is in the law.
Or the law right now is not being followed. So don't tell me you're going to put that in the law so you have a safety net, counties and cities, because we've already seen how you do that. Yep. You don't follow it. Pay it where the big bucks are, out of Topeka.
Yep.
And they say that the benefit will come to the if they grant this exemption, there'll be benefits, and I do believe that. But there would still be benefits if it was under the Homestead Act.
Agreed.
Your turn, Vicki.
Is that all you had, Commissioner Stevens?
That's all I have.
Commissioner Cos?
Well, I just want to point out that on Monday is Martin Luther King Day, and that there is an event that will be taking place at Island Spice from 11 a.m. till 1 p.m., sponsored by the NAACP for Leavenworth County, and that's during the day, and they will be providing information regarding EEOC, employment opportunities, things for assisting residents and people, both businesses and people, of trying to increase employment and understanding of the opportunities that exist within Leavenworth County. And then on that evening at the Methodist Church is another event celebrating Martin Luther King Day. So anybody that's interested in that, I'm sure that there will be there's things in social media announcing the different types of opportunities, and as well as I think that probably it'll be in the newspaper just to put an ad so that people are aware of it. So I just encourage people to go since it's a holiday, and just kind of take the time to
Enjoy it.
and observe a day of service as well. And I think that other than that, I don't have anything.
Thank you.
Okay. Two things. First of all, I want to thank Vicki for being Madam Chair. After sitting in that, and I know Doug has too, and Jeff, you'll find out, it can be interesting to stay on top of everything and still thanks. So every once in a while, Jeff, if you miss a line, we're here to help you because it's happened to us all. The second thing is last Thursday at the Lansing City Council, not only did Lansing want to write a letter, but they submitted testimony for the LBTR, which I in turn gave to Commissioner Culberson. So, like Jeff was saying, everybody's on board on this, even people that we were concerned about. So, this is our best chance for folks to speak up and get something done. We'll see what happens, I guess. That's all I have, Chairman.
All right. If that's all we have, that concludes our meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Voting aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.